The family of a British aid worker killed in a Gaza Israeli drone strike has attacked the British government for withholding information about the attack collected by a Royal Air Force spy plane. James Kirby, a 47-year-old former British Army rifleman, was working in Gaza for the World Central Kitchen when he was killed last April in an Israeli targeted attack on a 3-car aid convoy. He died alongside several others, including 2 other British veterans. The UK's Ministry of Defence told The Times it had footage from an RAF spy plane that was flying over Gaza trying to locate Israeli captives on the day of the strike. The MOD refused to disclose the footage, citing national security and defence exemptions. In an interview with The Times, the Kirby family questioned why they were not allowed to be informed about what was filmed. "I want to know who's made that decision not to make it public and why they haven't," Kirby's mother, Jackie Kirby, said. Now, my first question here is, what the hell are British spy planes doing in Israel? Now, this story really throws me back to when Joe Biden, and you had multiple Americans who were killed by Israel, and Joe Biden, he didn't give a shit. He said words, but ultimately, he didn't care. Kevin, this throws up the reasonable question as to why won't they release the footage? Is there something to hide?
Yeah, well, I'll answer Miss Kirby's question. Benjamin Netanyahu made the decision. That's it. Yeah. He runs British foreign policy, especially in regards to the Middle East. We are a bought and paid for subdivision of IDF PLC at this point. Literally, if you are a member of the RAF, you are essentially an extension of the IDF's war crimes. I remember being on this show months ago and said, watch out for the RAF Akrotiri flights. This was happening then, and it's been happening since. The RAF literally lied during the course of this story, saying that those flights were only for surveillance reasons to try and locate the hostages, which I'm not entirely sure how you're going to locate hostages if they're like underground in tunnels or something from the sky. No, these are absolutely reconnaissance flights that are being done. We know this. It's been tracked by people. The RAF flights coincide almost perfectly every time with minutes later IDF forces bombing those exact locations that were just there. That's not a coincidence if it happens several times. This is what's happening. We are being, our forces from RAF Akrotiri in Cyprus are being used as a surveillance tool, as a reconnaissance tool by the IDF in order to engage in genocide against the Palestinian people. Our taxpayers' money is being used not just to subsidise via arms sales, which are still continuing, absolutely, but via our actual RAF, supposedly defence forces, are being used to kill the Palestinian people right now. Keir Starmer is a murderer who has blood on his hands. So does David Lammy. So does the entire British government right now. The reason they're not revealing that footage is because, again, they're bought and paid for by the Israeli government. Literally this week, the Labour Friends of Israel were asked by the parliamentary watchdog, a standards watchdog, to reveal their funding sources, and they refused to do so. What could they possibly have to hide, I wonder? Is it because they're being funded by a shell company paid for by the Israeli government? Oh yeah, that's precisely what it is, because that's always what it is. We are a bought and paid for outpost of the Israeli empire at this point.
Remember the scandal of Russian money infiltrating our political system, which we all agree is wrong. Suddenly Israel gets a free pass. They are literally funneling money into our political
absolutely. We literally had, when he was leader of the opposition, Sir Keir Starmer, KC, literally taking a phone call from the Israeli president, not the prime minister, just before then scuppering the SNP's question on this, if you remember, debate motion, wasn't it? On this question in the chamber. Yeah. So literally,
it was on their opposition day, wasn't
their opposition day motion.
Time to do
absolutely. So we literally have the leader of the British opposition essentially taking orders direct on the phone from the president of a foreign country in order to affect our due process in Parliament. Why is he not being charged with treason at this point, or acting as a foreign agent? This is clearly, at the very least, espionage. And he's now the prime minister. It's maddening.
Everything passes with Israel. And to sort of bring up the point what you made earlier, when asked about this, when the family were asking about this footage, the MD's excuse was, these are spy planes, they don't carry weapons, therefore it's not used for offensive purposes. That's what they say. But as you've just pointed out, you look at the flight plans and you look at where these surveillance drones are, and they're following IDF planes.
Look,
Right?
literally, look, you know the word reconnaissance exists. You've had reconnaissance in force for the entirety of military history. The idea that because it doesn't have a weapon on it, okay, well, a general doesn't carry around a fucking gun with him. Doesn't mean he's not part of the military. It's ridiculous. What an absolutely absurd notion. And
It's like saying someone who goes and cooks for the army, they're not part of the British Army.
Yeah.
They very much are.
Yeah, look, I think it's was it 10 backroom staff for one frontline soldier is the equivalent, because you need logistics and cooking and blah 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 blah. So the vast majority of them aren't frontline personnel. It doesn't mean they're not backing the thing up. It's an absurd notion. And of course, to bring it back to the fact that a British citizen was murdered, and again, murdered because the Israeli government initially said, as they always do, that this was unintentional. Then they went, maybe it was intentional, and fired 2 people who apparently had overstepped their bounds and rocketed this. The organisation in question had specifically told the IDF and the Israeli government that that's exactly what they would be doing on that day, had been given clearance by the Israeli government, and were then bombed and killed by the Israeli government. That is execution.
Yeah, that is it was marked cars from the World Central Kitchen. Right? Yeah. They would literally just bring in aid.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. It was clearly marked. It was a execution. And what I find funny about the MOD's excuses, they say, it's just a spy plane. And I'm thinking, well, first of all, again, my question is, why do we have spy planes over there? Right? Why are we doing that?
Well, I thought we were Israel's ally. Why are we spying on Israel if that's the case?
Funny that, isn't it? But so we should be keeping up with it too, right? It's not even, obviously it's we know why they're there, but even if we were to take their word for it, which we don't believe, right? That it's not like it's unbiased, right? What about, because they say we have spy planes to try and help them find the Israeli hostages. Well, what about the Palestinian hostages? And clearly, this will be used for intelligence gathering anyway. I mean, that will weaken the position of Hamas, which, despite them being terrorists, at the same time, they are the only form of armed Palestinian resistance. The intel will be used to murder more innocent people anyway. But the added layer on that is they are literally just accompanying the IDF. This is, you might as well have a gun in Keir Starmer's hand and he's shooting innocent people.
Yeah.
It's as close as you can get to it.
And again, it's really disheartening to know that as a British citizen, or technically subject, but let's not go into it, that if you are murdered by the IDF, the British government will do precisely nothing to get you justice. Nothing. They will actively indeed collude with your murderers to whitewash your murder. That is a disgusting abrogation of duty, and as far as I'm concerned, a crime. And indeed, I think as far as the law is concerned, a crime, and for which both David Lammy and Keir Starmer should be held accountable.
Mm-hmm. They should all be in the Hague.
Absolutely. 100%. This is genocide. They're literally today going in there with the explicit intention of grabbing land. They are ethnically cleansing, murdering in order to steal people's land. That you should go to the Hague.
They are literally saying it now. Even again, for us, we knew that from the beginning, but they're just saying it now. And the reason why they can say that is because they know that no one's going to do anything about it. They no longer have to use the pretense of, oh no, this is fighting Hamas, this is fighting terrorism. They're saying, actually, this is a land grab, knowing that Donald Trump, knowing that David Lammy and Keir Starmer will say, okay, do what you want. Oh, you've killed some British soldiers and British aid workers? Fuck it. Just like Joe Biden said, well, you know, not on my watch, no American person's going to be killed without any consequence. Oh, whoopsie, they killed those American people as well. It's fucking insane. And it's not even, you know, when people say, oh, you know, the West are complicit in the genocide, right? No, they are aiding and abetting the genocide. Yeah. Right? It's not just complicity. That's too weak of a word.
It's active.
It's actively going in there and doing the genocide with them.
It's active
involvement. The UK is committing a genocide with Israel.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just complicity, it's active involvement. So rather than just standing by and watching as the blood flow, we have decided to jump on in. It's disgusting. And again, I can only reiterate that all of these people deserve to be at the Hague. There's no other way of looking at it. These people are war criminals of the worst kind. And again, I want to ask the kind of maltoids like Piers Morgan and various people like that who went, do you condemn the Hamas a million times over? Doesn't Israel have the right to defend herself, etc., etc.? How is this about self-defense? How is any of this? How is murdering aid workers about self-defense? How is the absolute denial of the right of aid trucks to get into Palestine right now? How is that about self-defense? How is the absolutely open taking of land and ethnic cleansing of northern Gaza? How is that about self-defense in any way? It isn't.
Support independent media, support social justice that's there on social media. Thank you. Turn left.